Hello everyone. I recently made this small example of how to make a portal-like implementation in Godot 4, and it looks like this. It has like basically a sphere where you have like an entrance to another part of the scene, and you can jump into it, and yeah, so and somebody asked me to make a tutorial on how to do this. This is it's only maybe like maybe 100 lines of code associated with it, and it's relatively easy to do, and so I thought I would actually do the tutorial on how to do this. I will do the tutorial in the current project I have, but I will just go like through step to step how to do it in a new scene. The character itself is a very bare bones character, but I will not be going into how to make a character that moves around. I think that is something that everybody can do, and yeah. But I will just focus on this part here. It involves a shader that uses a stencil to map the two images together, the two renders of the whole scene that are done, and then it involves some code that transfers the character seamlessly from one point in space to another point in space, and then transfers the logic of the camera mapping from one portal to another portal. Alright, so in order to do this, let's just make a new scene, and I'm not gonna go into how to make 3D stuff in Godot, like scenes themselves. I'm just gonna I have some prefabs already. I can drag in here, see, let's just add something here. Unfortunately, the tabbing, this is Godot 4 Alpha 1, and it's still not super stable. It is kind of in the name, and unfortunately in Godot 4 Alpha 1, the tabbing between value holders are still not working exactly right. So you have to when you put new numbers in, you have to, if you ever see me struggle with it, it's because you have to press enter and then tab, because otherwise it like if I just say press 0 here, okay, press 0 here and press tab, then it doesn't accept the input. Now I accidentally also put a half in there and it didn't even notice. You have to press value, then enter and then tab. It's a little bit annoying. Small things, otherwise Godot 4 Alpha 1 is pretty stable. I've had like one crash now and then, and sometimes there's some shaders that mesh up, but it's, yeah, it works okay. Let's just add a mesh floor here. See, we're just gonna make that a box. Just put that down there. We'll make it a little bit bigger. 100 enter, tab, tab, 100 enter, and yeah, I think this is fine. So what we want to do when we want to make a portal is we need a character, of course, first. So let's add a Fps Character. This is a script I already have, and you can use whatever you have. There's plenty of tutorials on how to make FPS characters on YouTube. Collision shape. Let's add a capsule shape. Alright, that looks pretty good. I use a rigid body, so I need to constrain the axis, the angular axis on my character, because I don't want him to fall over. And in my particular character implementation, I need to have the body or the collision shape named body, and I need to have a camera, which is the head, like that. And then let's just move it up here. And my character just presumes that the camera is pointing backwards. So I think this should work. Yes, it wants me to save the scene. Let's call it Portal Example. Let me just see if I'm still recording. Yes. And it looks like something. Oh, yes, my character. Okay, let me just outcomment this. This is related to the portal stuff. So let's just try and rerun that. Alright, so now it seems to work, although he's moving a little bit slowly. That might be because I need to set the acceleration to a little bit more. Let's try that. Yeah. Yes, my character also needs the friction to be a little bit lower. New physics material. No friction. And no bounce. Like that. I think that helps. Yes. So now my character moves around. So the character of course has one camera now. In order to do a portal, you need to have you need at least two cameras. The one way you can do the portal is you can have a transparency. You can make the background transparent, and then cut out the other, or just not render the part of the game that needs the portal itself, or where you have the portal, you just don't render anything at all. And that's a little bit troublesome, and it also has some drawbacks. And although it is most efficient, because if you do it that way, you only have to have two cameras. The drawback is that many of the post-processing effects don't work with that, and yeah, and it's a bit complicated. The other way to do it is to have two cameras and another camera doing a stencil that cuts out, or that kind of cuts in the portal camera view onto the screen. And that is the one I used for this example. It is the smartest one to use. Yeah, it's an easy one to use because you get all the post-processing and you get all the everything kind of just works. But you do have to do 3 renders each frame. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we need to make a viewport. They changed the name in Godot 4 to sub viewport, which is it's fine. And this viewport is gonna have the stencil, so I'm gonna call it stencil viewport. And we need another viewport for the actual portal view, and I'm gonna call that portal viewport. And in the stencil viewport we need a camera, and this camera is special in that we only want to render one layer on this camera, and we don't want any lighting or shading or anything like that. We're gonna choose layer 5. And for this, so this will be the stencil layer. And what's important here is that in the stencil layer we want that image to be black and white. White where the portal is and black where everything else is. So in such a way that everything else can block the stencil or the portal itself, so that you don't get like a portal standing over everything else. And but you will see what I mean. Yes. So we might need to set the update mode to always here on this one, and I think we also have to do that here. And we're gonna set the default resolution to 1600 by 900 on each of these, because this is the default size I have in my project, like that. And that's going to be important that you set this size to the default size of your project. You want this stuff to work so that if the player changes the screen size or the resolution, that this follows. But the initial value should be the same as the game value. Alright, in the portal viewport, we need a camera that is gonna do the actual portal camera. So what you see on the other side. And I'm just gonna call this Stencil Camera, and I'm gonna call this one Portal Camera, like that. Then we need the actual surface where the portal camera renders onto, and that is going to be a texture rig. You can also use a 2D element. I choose this one. I don't know why. I'm easiest with this one. They changed the layouting a little bit in Godot 4 compared to Godot 3. So here what you need to do is you need to use this full rect mode here. That makes the canvas item fit on the whole screen. And yeah, I think that's it. And then you need to yes, then we need to actually render the portal onto the texture, and we do that by when the texture value on the texture rig, we're going to make a viewport texture here, and then we're going to choose the portal viewport here. And that means now that the portal camera is actually rendering onto the screen. If I start the game now, it's the only thing I can see. It is actually moving around, the character is moving around, but since the portal camera isn't moving and this is just blocking everything, you can't really see it. Yes, but the way we cut out a part of the image, we're going to do that with a shader, and we're just going to add a new shader material here, and we're going to make a new shader, and I'm just going to put it in the shader folder. I already have one portal stencil. I'm just going to call this portal stencil example. Alright, and so here in the shader, what we can do is we can say, just to begin with, let's just try and cut out the, so we have like this image in the center and everything outside is fine. And the way we do that is we make a new UV variable here, call it UV, and then we set it to UV minus 0.5. I think that might work. Yes, and then we just calculate the distance from the center back to dist equals to the square root of UVX times UVX plus UVY times UVY. This is Pythagoras, if anyone didn't already recognize this. And of course the distance is a float. And so what we can do right now is we can just say the color alpha value should be equal to the distance, and let's just see how that looks. So now it kind of ramps up from the inside to the outside, but I actually just want to show a circle in the inside and then have the outside clear. And I'm going to do that with a smooth step function, where I go from 0.4 to 0.5, I think, and then put the distance here. And that I think should give us a circle. Yes, yeah, kind of. Maybe it should be a little bit smaller. And also, I would actually like it to be kind of round and not elliptical. So I'm just gonna say UVX and multiply that with 2. I think that should do that. Yes. Oh, I actually wanted the other way around, so I'm just gonna do like this. Yes. So if I run it now, you'll see I get the normal camera in the background, and then I have the portal camera in the middle. And of course the portal camera in the middle is not moving at the moment. So it doesn't look right. Alright, so far so good. We have 2 actually views. I'm just gonna add a light source here, because I don't know why they do this in Godot 4, but they show the directional light, the default directional light in the editor, but not in the game, so I'll just add one myself. Oh, yes. Let's just also get some shadows just from, yeah, I think that looks nice. Yeah, awesome. All right, so what we want now is we want to use the stencil to cut out the image, and the way we do that is we need the stencil to also be in the shader, and in order to do that we need to make a variable here in the shader, a global variable. It's called uniform sampler 2D, I think, and then we call it stencil texture. Yes. And what happens now is if I press the texture here and I go to the shader material here, it has now gotten a shader parameter here that takes a texture. And but before I can put a viewport texture on it, I need to make this particular material local to scene. And you just click this one on, otherwise you're not allowed to do it. And then now you can go and make a new viewport texture and choose the stencil viewport. And this should make it so that we get this view also in the shader, and we can use that to cut out. But there's one thing that's important with the stencil. We don't want to do any environment, we don't want to do any shading actually, we want it to be black and white and very simple. So what we need to do is we need to go and select the Stencil Camera and add a new environment to it. And here in the environment we want to set the background color to a custom color, just black. And let's see, yeah, I don't think we need to do anything else here now. So right now, the Stencil Camera, if you click on the Stencil Viewport, you can see the output of the Stencil Camera is just black. And it's because none of the elements here in this scene are in the layer 5. And it's also important that the camera doesn't light on layer 5, so I'm just gonna single it out to only light on layer 1. It's calling everything but layer 1, and it's on layer 1. this means that the directional light is not lighting on the stencil camera's objects. Alright, I'm just gonna move the stencil camera a little bit up here, and then I'm gonna add a new object here. We're gonna call that portal. It's gonna be a mesh instance, and we're gonna call it portal. And we're gonna make this a sphere, and I'm gonna put it up in front of the portal camera, or the stencil camera, just so we can see it at least. And like that. And now if I'm gonna move it to layer 5, and now if I click on the stencil camera, it's still black, and that's because there's no lighting, there's nothing on layer 5, and so this of course becomes black. So what you need to do is on this particular object, you need to set a specific material that has no shading. And let's just go make this one shading. Just say unshaded, like that. That should do it. And now if I go and click on the stencil camera, you see there's a white color there, or the sphere is there. And if I choose the stencil camera, I say view here, you can see if I move the stencil camera, then the portal moves also. So what we need to do here is we need the stencil camera to follow the main camera. Since it's in its own viewport, it's no longer attached to the parent 3D object, and so it doesn't move the body. Let me just see, I don't know, I think I'm just gonna go, and it's a very simple script. Oh, but scripting is not there. So I'm just gonna copy the one. I'm just gonna select the one I already made, because I'm just gonna go through it line by line and tell you what it does. It's very simple. It extends camera 3D. You need to set the main camera path on the stencil, and actually you don't need to do that. Or actually, yeah, you do, because if you try to get the current camera inside a viewport, then you'll get the current camera inside the viewport, which is itself. So this camera needs to know which is the main camera of the scene, and so that's what I do here. I make an export variable that just takes a node path, and then in the ready function I'm getting the main camera here using getNode, and I'm using this path up here, and then I set it to this also class variable called mainCam. And then down in the process function, what I do is I just copy the global transform from the main camera onto this object's global transform. So all I need to do now is assign this here. Now that I have exported this variable, I can assign it now on this camera. Its main cam path is here now, so I'm gonna assign that to the head, which is the main camera, and now the stencil should follow the main camera. If I play the game, I probably won't see a thing, but actually I do. So the portal camera and the main camera is actually seeing the portal in the game, and I don't want that actually. So and that's because the main camera is actually rendering all layers. So I'm just gonna turn off layer 5 here, and on the stencil camera we have layer 5, and on the portal camera I also turn off layer 5. So now if I click it on again, see, now we don't see the portal itself. Alright, so but the stencil camera now should be following the main camera, and we should be able to use this stencil to cut out cut in the portal camera feed. And so let's go back to the shader and try to do that. So instead of doing this distance thing here, I'm gonna comment all this out and say color A equal to, we're gonna load the texture from the stencil here, and we're just gonna use the UV coordinates here, and we're just gonna use the green color, because the green color is, we're actually rendering all 3 color channels, but we only need 1 color actually to do the stencil. So I'm just gonna use the green color. Now if I run, it should, as you can see, now it's cutting in the portal part of, or the sphere that is the portal of the thing, but it's still not moving the actual portal camera to match what the portal is doing. And but in order to do that, we need 2 portals. And if you go back to 3, so this portal here should map onto another portal. There should be like an input and an output, or 2 portals that match each other. And yeah, let's try to do that. We're going to call this portal 1 and portal 2. And then what we're also going to do is we're just going to add a node 3D instance in here. This is in Godot 3. This is called spatial. They have renamed this in Godot 4 to node 3D. It's a basic element that just has transform and works in 3D space. We're gonna call this helper, because this is gonna help us with converting, mapping the camera coordinates of the portal camera on, so that they line up with the portals. Yeah, and I'm just gonna copy that and put that in here too. And I'm gonna put that one down here. So now we're gonna have 2 portals. Let's put that a little bit in here, where you can jump from one to the other. And yes. And in order to make this work, we need to add a script onto the portal, such that the portal can move the portal camera according to where the player is relative to the portal 1 and the portal 2. And so let's make a new script here. I'm gonna do this from scratch. I'm not gonna take the script I already have. Because there's a lot going on there, and maybe I should just use the existing. That will be the easiest actually. Alright, I think I'll just do that. For some reason the recents doesn't get the scripts. I don't know why that doesn't happen. Effects. Alright, and yes, so this is the script that handles the portal, and it has a class name, cam portal, and then it has a variable here that specifies if the portal is the current portal that's being used. Then it has another exported value here that matches, where you can set the other portal path, and this is so that this portal matches onto the other portal. And then I'm making a variable here where I have the actual portal itself, or the other portal, and then I have one variable here for the helper node. And in the ready function I set the helper node equal to the child helper, and I check if the other portal path is empty. If it's not empty, then I actually set the other portal to the path node that's been given. And then if this portal is current, I make sure that it's visible, and or I make sure that the inside is visible, and I make I make it the current portal in the global object. Actually, I'm not using this, so it's not really relevant. But this one is relevant. See, the thing is, like inside a mesh, if I move the camera inside, there's nothing inside it. The backsides are being called, and this is a good feature. We can actually use this in order for us to transition from one portal to another in an easy way. But we need the insides, because when you actually step into the portal, you still want to show what's on the other side until you actually transition to the other portal point. And so we're gonna make I'm just gonna copy this and paste. Okay, this might be a bad idea. I'm not sure if I can copy itself into itself. Let's see what happens if I do that. Yeah, alright, I could do that. Alright. So I'm just gonna move this thing to 0.0.0. So now it's aligning up with the other. Yes, it's right inside it. But what you can do then is up on the mesh, I'm gonna make this unique sphere, and I'm gonna make flip the faces on the sphere. And this makes it so that if I go inside it, now it should be invisible, and it is. For some reason, Godot 4 doesn't copy the material, even though it is there. It's a little weird. So now when I'm inside, it's not unshaded. So I'm just gonna clear the material, and I already have this material saved here. I'm gonna put that on. There you go. So now when I move inside the circle sphere, you can see there's also something inside. If I make the inside here invisible, you can see it's not there when I'm inside. And I'm just gonna call this inside. Let's see, wasn't that what I called it? Yes, inside. And I'm gonna remove this script here, because we don't want a script on this thing here. We just want to be able to turn it on and off depending on the state of the portal stuff. And alright. So the next step here is the process function itself, and this is where it maps up the portal camera so that it matches the relative coordinate for the portal camera to the other portal as the main camera is to the current portal. What that basically means is that if the main camera is here, then the portal camera should be here. So if you see, like the portal camera should be relative to this portal, where the main camera is relative to this portal, and in such a way that so when you move around the portal camera also move around equivalently on the other portal. And to do that, we get the main camera here. In this case, we are on an object that's not inside a viewport, or it's in the main viewport, and so we can just say get viewport, get camera 3D. This gets the main camera in the scene. Then we set the helper global transform equal to the global transform of the main camera. And the reason why we do this is because then the helper this helper coordinate here will be matched up with the camera. And you say, well, why is that smart? Well, it's smart because then we can take the local transform of this helper and set that equal to the local transform of the other portal helper. And that's smart, because then we have transformed a lot of we have gone from local to global in just one step, from one object to another. So this is a really easy way to get the transforms to match up. And then what we do is we take the portal camera global transform and set it equal to the other portal helper global transform. And this will make it so that the other portal will or the portal camera is now matching up with the main camera's transform. Then what's going on here is actually what's important is that we don't render, like if we have say we are standing down near this portal here, and we want to render this this portal here onto this surface here. Then if the player is standing far away from this portal and looking onto the portal, then the portal camera will also be over here, which means that all these faces that are here will be blocking the view that should only actually be coming from here. So we want to cut that off such that the portal camera doesn't render anything behind it, so to say, or anything behind the portal. And that's what we're doing here. We're setting the near plane of the portal camera equal to this near plane value. That should have been near distance. It's a bad name I made there. Just rename that. And the near distance is basically just the helper transform origin length. But then we're also doing some algebra here, where we're taking the angle of the main camera and angling it to the difference between the global transform of the portal and the main camera's global transform. And that is because the near plane changes when you shear the camera relative to the portal. I'm just gonna comment this out so I can show what this means. Actually, I'm just gonna comment out this. I'm gonna comment it all out like this, and because then you can see what I mean. All right. Then I have here a small feature where I make sure that if the portal is not visible, then I make it visible if it's current, and if it's not current, then if it is visible, I make it invisible. And this is when you swap between the portals, you want to swap this visibility and the current thing. So yes, that's what's going on there. And then down here, this is when the body enters into the portal. And I'm just gonna wait with this because for now I just want to do the actual visual stuff. And yeah, so I'm just gonna delete this one now because we have this inside thing here. I'm just gonna copy that here, and I'm gonna put that up here now. Alright. On this one, I'm just gonna set this one to current, and then we need to set the other portal path because they need to know each other. So here I'm on the other portal path. I'm gonna assign. Here I'm on portal 1. I'm gonna assign on portal 2, and on portal 2 I'm gonna assign portal 1. Like that. And let's just see how that looks. So that's something that didn't work here. Oh yes, and now we are at the point where the portal camera needs to be set. So what I do here is that's actually what we had in the beginning. Up here I take the portal camera of so under the character, the portal camera is under the portal viewport. And then what I do is I take that portal camera and I put it into a global script I have made, where I have a variable called portal camera. And this is a script. Let's see, autoload. So this script here, it's under script global.gd, and it is assigned as the value g, just to make it easy to get to and write code. This name here makes it so that I can just write g to reference the this global script. If you go into the global script, you can see here I have set the current portal here, I have set the main viewport here, and I have set the portal camera here. This is the one we were looking at before. So in here in FPS Camera, when it is initializing, I am taking the portal camera and assigning it to that portal camera value on the global script. This makes it so the portals can always get to the portal camera. Yes, so let's see how this works now. Alright, so now we have an actual visually a portal that works, and it seems to be working pretty well. The cameras are following each other, and yes, this is actually just what we want. But we're not jumping between the portals at the moment, and in order to do that, we need to add some areas that detect when we enter the portal and when we exit the portal. And here we need 2 areas. Another thing that you notice is that I have anti-aliasing set to be enabled on my normal viewport, but I don't have it on the portal camera. And let's just fix that now when we can. So here we're just gonna add anti-aliasing to the portal viewport. That should be down here somewhere. Yeah, screen space. I'm just using FXAA. It's a fast anti-aliasing algorithm, and yeah. So now you can see they look a little bit more like each other. And yes, this is also an important thing. If you add settings to your game, you need to remember to, if you give the player an ability to change the anti-aliasing, you need to remember to do it on all your viewports, both on the main viewport and on the portal viewport. You can also see that the edge around the sphere is kind of abrupt, and so what I did in my project, I added a little bit of glow to the stencil scene, and that makes it so that it kind of fades in. It's a cheap trick. It has some drawbacks though, but just whoa! Wow, we don't have any mesh on the on the ground. Let's just add that here. There you go. Alright, so now the important thing is if I jump down here. Oh, yes, as you can see, the portal is showing through the other objects here, which that's not what we wanted. And yeah, and also why is it doing that? Because I was sure. Ah, yes. So here, actually, I think let's just run it again, because I think I added this to the. No, I didn't. Okay, So here's a thing we need to do. This mesh needs to be blocking the portal camera. So this also needs to show up on the stencil camera, and that means that this needs to be in layer 5. However, we don't want to render it. We don't want the textures to be there. And there's also a problem in Godot 4 for the moment being that makes it so that the sun is actually lighting on all layers, despite only being set to light on layer 1. So if you can see here, I set the sun to light only on layer 1 and cull everything else. But it doesn't do that. So what we need to do is we need to go in here on this is the pathway here, and we need to copy the main mesh and then paste it here, and this is going to be the stencil layer of the mesh, and we're going to set the clear the materials here, and then we're going to set it on layer 5. So this is not unshaded, which means they will become black on the stencil layer. The problem is here that it's a little bit annoying. The way it looks now is we will have this showing in the scene in the editor, and this is not very nice. So I made a small script that enables the visibility of this object when the game starts. And let me just choose that here. And I call this stencil blocker. It's a very simple script. When it goes ready, it just set visibility to true, and that way you can have it disabled in your prefab, and then when the game starts, it will make itself visible immediately when the game starts. And that makes it so that when we run this now, it should be blocking. Yes. So now the portal is no longer lighting through this object. We haven't done it on the end part of this yet. So we need to do that, of course. And let's just do that. I don't know why is it showing here if I made it invisible. It shouldn't. Okay, that might have been a Godot 4 glitch. Let's just add that 2 here to the end part of it. We're just gonna copy the mesh here. We're gonna paste it in here, and we're just gonna remove the material from it, and we're going to put it on layer 5. We're going to set it invisible, and then we are going to add our little enabling script, and that is in here, effects, stencil blocker, and that's it. So now if I run it, it should be blocking. Yes, the stencil is being blocked now by the objects in the scene. Alright, I'm just gonna add a little bit more to the scene. I'm just gonna add an environment, just so we can see a little bit more through the portal. And let's just make a new environment, and let's make a sky. Let's do that as a new sky, and let's make it a physical sky. That looks pretty nice. So now I think if we run it again, we should be able to see a little bit more. Yes. And we can also yeah, that's nice. So what we can do in order to soften the portal a little bit is either we can add anti-aliasing to the stencil camera, let's just try and do that so you can see how it looks. So the stencil viewport here, let's go into rendering and add some screen space anti-aliasing here. Now if I start it again, it should be a little bit more soft. Yes. So this might be what you want. In my example I showed before, I have a bit of a glow around the portal. And let me just show that here. Oh, I changed some of the names here. I'm just gonna camera. I think that's let's see if this works now. There's one. Portal viewport, portal camera. Didn't I call it portal camera? I did? What? Oh, right. There you go. Let me just see. This should still work. Yes. So I added a little bit of glow to the portal, and that makes it kind of fade a little bit on the edges. And it's up to you if you want that. The way you can do that is you just go on the stencil viewport and go into, no, actually you have to choose the stencil camera, go into the environment on your camera and enable glow, and the levels will specify how much glow you have. It's a bit much. You can have like 2 layers of glow like this. Let's see how that looks. And that didn't work. So let's, yeah, it's, oh, maybe I need to set up the intensity here. Oh, we need to set it to additive here, yes. And now, yeah, let's see. Now you get the same effect. So it's basically just a glow effect in the environment settings. So in order to make the actual jump work, we probably need to make the portal a little bit larger, and we need to make some areas that detect when you are inside the portal and when you actually in the center of the portal. So we need 2 areas, and the reason for this is because when you're inside the center of the portal, that's where you want to make the actual jump. But when you go out of the portal, there's going to be an area where it transitions from from inside to outside on the destination portal, and that's where a little bit of trickery is going on, because portals are actually kind of logically impossible. You shouldn't be able to do that, and one of the things about it is that the view of the portal needs to flip between being one portal to the next portal. So when you're inside the entry portal, it looks like I'm actually upstairs right now. Like when I go in here, it looks like I'm upstairs. But then when I transition the person, the other portal would immediately show this portal's output. So that means that the inside needs to be disabled on the outgoing portal, just as I transfer to it. But then when I step out of it, we want the inside to actually be enabled again on the outgoing portal. Otherwise, we're gonna have like some flipping going around. And all right, so let's try and do that. So here on the let's make this into a prefab first, so that we don't have to do the work twice, the stuff that we do. So we're just going to save this branch as a scene, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to call it portal example, because I already have one. And we're just going to delete that one and just copy this one. So now we have 2, in And if I jump into it here, we can edit this one, and both of them will be edited when we save it. The portal path has been deleted because we deleted the we made this into a scene, and so we just need to set this again, and we actually only want one of them to be current. So let's just set, yeah, we want this one to be current, and this one should know portal 2, and portal 2 should know portal 1, like that. And let's just try this, see if it works. Nope, that did not work. See, is this some weird Godot thing? No? What's going on here? It's visible. Portal 1. Let's just call this portal. Interesting. Interesting. This is there. This is interesting. Did I do something wrong?
Ja, der sad den ude fra værkstedet med det. Nu ser jeg på købe nogen.
The viewports are still rendering. So what happened? Helper is still here. The inside is still here. Why is it not showing? It should show. Alright, I'm back. The stupid thing was there's nothing wrong actually. I had see, you can't see the portal right now, but the stupid thing is I had the portal 2 and portal, because I copied the original portal. They're exactly on top of each other, so it was actually just rendering straight ahead. But if I move it up here, you can now see it. It should be fine. One thing that is important is that the orientation of the portal is actually important. So if I turn this portal here like this, you will see that that it also turns the portal on the outside, and this can give you, like, you may want this, and you know, depending on how your portal is oriented, and but it does make it a little bit more tricky to handle the character if you do that. So I'm just gonna do that for now, and alright, so let's try and do the actual jumping. If you go into the portal prefab, we're gonna make an area here, and this is gonna be the area that makes the jump. So let's call this transfer area, and let's add a collision shape here. This is just going to be a circle. Let's see, sphere, and it should be in the center of the portal, and so, but it should be such that you only transfer once you're fully inside the portal. So we're going to make it a bit smaller, but we also need to make the portal itself a little bit bigger, because right now it's small enough that your legs would be outside the portal, and your head would be, or the body kind of would be inside. So we need to make it a little bit bigger, and we're just going to make it I think twice the size. So we can set this radius to 2 and the height to 4. And we also have to do that on the inside, remember, because this is a different mesh now. And 2 and 4. And now I think it should be a little bit bigger, so that if we run it, the portal, yeah, it's quite big. And now, like, our legs will be inside the portal. But you also notice there's another problem here. The floor is sticking through. And so we need, on the inside, we need an actual mesh that covers this. And what we're gonna do to do that is inside the portal here, we're just gonna add a new mesh here. And we're gonna make that a, let's see, we're gonna make that a cylinder mesh. There it is. And let's just increase the radius here. So we want it to be in the bottom, but below the camera, but above the floor. So I guess here might be a good place. We just want it to be inside, so it shouldn't. You shouldn't be able to see it on the outside circumference. The height is a little bit much, so we're gonna reduce that to just 0.1, and so now this inside floor of the portal is here. If we go inside now, you can see the floor here. We're gonna add the same material for the stencil material, the unlit shader, or the unshaded shader, or the unshaded material. And now, so if we go inside it, you can't really see it now, but if we go back now and start this, then if we go inside it, the floor is white. And that's because we didn't set the layer on this particular on this particular mesh. So we need to do that too. So as you can see here, the floor, let's just call it portal floor, and it's on layer 1. So let's just remove it from layer 1 and add it to layer 5. So let's save that. So now if we run it and we go inside the portal, you don't see the floor anymore. If you decide on using this portal in a way where the character can go inside the portal upside down, then you need to make sure that the portal is aligned with with the character, so that or maybe you need to rethink the way that this is done. It's actually also clipping through the ceiling there. So we might need to do the same thing for the ceiling. Let's just try and do that. Or we could just move it down a little bit. Cheat. So move this down. And we're gonna move this up. No, just move that over here. So, alright, yes. Alright, so, but we need to actually, when we enter into the portal transfer area, we need to make it so that we send a signal to the portal script, and that's this one here, on area 3D body entered. And let's just copy this name and go to the transfer area and go into node, and then you can double click on body entered here, and it's important that you use the correct function name here. And so now when we enter into the area inside the center of the portal, this code is run. The first thing it does is it checks if the body that entered is a first person character, and if it's not a first person character, it should just ignore it. The second thing it does is it decides on what the current state of the portal is. If it's not current, then it's being set to current, and it's the visibility is set to true. If it's current and the inside is visible, so this means that now we are entering into a portal where the inside is visible and it's current. The reason why the inside visible thing is important is because this is also used to detect whether we have just entered the portal from outside, or whether we transfer to the portal from the outside, from another portal. And so that's why this check is here. So what it does, we use the helpers again here now to transfer the body. So we set the global transform of the helper to the global transform of the body on the current portal. Then on the other portal, we set the helper transform equal to the this transforms helpers, and this is not the global transform, this is the local transform. And so now we have the helpers aligning us up so that they match the player's coordinates and not the camera. Now we then take the global transform of the body and set it to the helper global transform of the other portal. And this makes the body swap up to the other portal. Then it sets this current portal to false, or this portal current sets to false, and it sets this to invisible. That's not really used, this isn't really, oh yeah, the inside is set to visible false. That doesn't really make sense, does it? This should be visible true, I think. If it's not... Well, it works, so I'm not really sure why. This might be because I swapped the logic some time ago. But let's just see what happens. So, oh, I need to run this scene. Come on. I need to run this scene. Here we go. So now if I jump into this one, nothing happened. And yeah, that's a little strange. The inside should be visible. Let's just put a stop here and see what happens. Alright, so it should be current. Current is true, and inside should be visible. So it should jump into this, and it does. Alright. So, okay. But see what's going on here is we're actually now in the other portal, and then I think we are jumping back. So what happens here right now is we jump to the other portal, and then the other portal detects, oh, there's a character. Let's just send him back to where he was. And I think so. I think what we need to do is we need to set the inside visible default value to false. Let's just try it. I think this might work. Alright, so let's jump into this portal. And now... let's try and continue. Yes, and now we actually went up on the top. And... oh. Yes, so and now we can't get back down again. And that's because the insides doesn't set the visible to true. So if we as you can see, if we are kind of on the border of it, the inside is no longer visible on the top portal here, and that is actually what makes it so that we don't jump back. And that's important because we don't want to jump back and forth from the portals all the time. We want to jump to the destination portal, and then once we are outside that portal, then we want to enable that portal again so we can jump. So and that's why the two areas are important. And then we also want to turn on the inside area again. So that's why we need another area. What did I do there? Okay, that's why we need another area. So let's add another area here, and let's add a collision node here. That's also just going to be a sphere. And this sphere should be larger than the transfer area sphere, but not as large as the camera, because we wanted to detect us going outside, kind of when the camera is clipping through the wall, and the camera is kind of in the center of the character. So if we extend this out here, then when the characters are around at the border of the wall, then we want to enable the insights again, and which also kind of makes it us able to jump back to the original portal. And all we do there is we connect. So this is going to be the inside area, and we need to connect that to this function down here on inside area body exited. Yes, let's just do that. Exited from this one should go to that one down there. I'm not sure why. Usually when you it actually shows. Oh. Okay, now it shows it. I don't know why this worked. This should have failed at every process. I think it might have actually. All right, let's see. But so what happens here when you go outside of the inside area? If it's not an FPS character, it doesn't do anything. If it is an FPS character and it's current, but the inside is not visible, then we set the inside to visible true. That's all we need to do, because then we'll be able to jump back to the original or the other portal, and the insides will be shown again. And this is actually where you can see this trick happening when you jump. So so when we are now, I'm outside this portal, right? When I transition between it, you can see it's kind of it looks pretty good, like the area is but when I jump between the portals and I go to the edge, there's a little bit of a flicker going on there. It's not as nice as it is when we go into the portal. So, but you don't really notice it so much. Another thing is portal probably shouldn't have any shadows. You can see there's actual shadows here, and you can also see the shadows being turned on and off. So when we jump into it, the shadows kind of just suddenly appears when we are inside the portal. And to avoid that, we just need to turn off portal shadows on the mesh. So we're just going to choose the inside mesh and the portal mesh here, and we're just going to go to geometry and say no shadows on this. And there we go. And now we are close to actually being at a place where our portal works. There we want. And it's kind of stepping a little bit up, so you need to match the portal with the floor. And but then it should work. Yeah. So here, this is my tutorial on how to make a portal in Godot. One thing I did do, and that's a nice feature in Godot 4, is I reduced the resolution a little bit. It's very important when you do portals that you have a very high frame rate, because you are rendering 3 cameras, and that is going to take some time. So you can't have a situation where it'll stutter a lot if it doesn't render fast. And so I reduced the resolution. Godot 4 has this feature where you can reduce the resolution and scale with bilinear scaling, and this actually helps just reducing this resolution to 1/67th of the original resolution. That increases the frame rate by 2. So if I had originally with just one camera, I had say 100 frames per second, and then I would have maybe 50 frames per second with 2 cameras, and it's not gonna perform good enough. But if I do the resolution reduction, then I will get 200 frames per second, and with one camera, and 100 frames per second with 2 cameras, and that actually helps a lot. But I also have a mid-range graphics card, an older mid-range graphics card in my computer, so it might not be needed if you have a better graphics card. You also can do some stuff on the quality settings. You don't need to set the resolution down. It's up to you to figure out like how much you want to do to maintain a proper frame rate here. But in the original scene I had here, I actually had a voxel GI space. I had a bunch of post-processing effects and other stuff just to make it look kind of cool. And the amounts of lights and all that stuff also has an impact. Shadows has an impact and all that stuff. But I can run this in full resolution without any stuttering. Now that I'm recording the screen, it actually can't do full 60 frames per second. But if I'm not recording the screen, I can do 60 frames per second in full screen. Yes, but it's up to you. You have to figure that out. I'm gonna make a repository where I upload this project, and so you can see it for yourself, and you can just copy that from there. And if you want to have a portal in your game. Alright, so I forgot to mention the near plane for the camera in the portal. So if you don't move the near plane, the mesh that is in front of the portal camera will be rendered. So as you can see here, the frame of the gangway is actually being shown right now. And so one way you can fix this is by fixing the near plane. And the near distance is just the distance from the helper to the portal. So this can be calculated like this. You just take the helper, transform origin length, and let's just try to do that first. So if we do this, then let's just jump up on the roof again. You will see now, as long as I'm okay, it's not working. What the hell? Oh, I'm not moving. Yeah, okay, I forgot to comment this in the actual near plane movement. Let's try again. So now we're up here on the roof, and now it cuts off the mesh that's in front of the portal because we're moving the near plane. And this gives a really good illusion that the portal is only showing what's there. But the problem is, if I turn the camera, then the near plane is pointing forwards, and because it's pointing forward from the perspective of the camera, the near plane is now cutting off some of the mesh that is inside the portal, as you can see here. So one way to fix that is to do some trigonometry. If you just take the angle, if you find the angle of the ray pointing forward from the main cam to the ray from the main cam to the portal, then you can take cosine and find the distance in diagonal to the camera. And so if we comment that in, then you will see that let's just jump up here again, that now the cut doesn't get there. So now this this cosine function will make sure that the near plane is never moved or is moved back when you look to the side. However, there's still a problem with the beams. So you can see the beams of the building are actually, because the near plane is moved back, the beams of the corner part over here will actually be shown. And there's no real solution, there's no simple solution to that. So when you use the portal, it's important that you have enough room, enough space around the portal, so you don't get anything that's covering it. So you have to build the scene in a way that that can't happen, that's one little drawback. Another solution could be to disable the visibility of stuff that's behind the portal. That is a little bit problematic and a lot of work, but other than that, this is a pretty simple solution to make portals work, and I hope you can use it for something in your game. Alright.